Flying Circus is a tabletop RPG about the fantasy of flying planes from the early flight era. Anyway, there's tanks now. Flying Circus, Chariot of Steel, aka Flying Circus, Ground Circus Edition, aka Flying Circus, Girls Wound Panzer Edition, aka Erika, Please for the love of God take care of yourself, I will pay you more for less, art by Erika Chappell, is a supplement for Flying Circus that's longer than the main book itself, that's all about ground warfare, specifically tanks, trucks, and infantry. Where the hell should I even start with this one? To say that I'm excited for this book is an understatement of the year. It all started when Erika decided to make a small and light, and I repeat, a small and light tank supplement for Flying Circus as a joke, on May 2021. In base Flying Circus, ground combat is meant to take pilots out of their comfort zone. As in Himmilgard, flying is the primary means of transport across the land. Flying is freedom, and you are only on ground because you either crashed or forced to venture through it, and it is just not nice. There's mud and sand everywhere, and it's far more dangerous than shooting each other in the sky. You are called pilots because you are good at flying. You probably aren't good with a gun in your hand. It is also designed for very personal affairs between downed pilots and the incoming danger, usually at very close range, at very small scale. It is not remotely designed for large-scale combat, which is what Chariot of Steel will be changing. There's new moves and rules for all sorts of things, like concealing yourself to ambush your foes, combat dash to charge and flank your foes, or just run the hell away, and peeking out of your trench to get a better look. Because while pilot has a lack of object permanence in the sky, you on the ground would be surprised by how blind you are of your surrounding when bullets fly in your direction, which is basically how being suppressed feels like. Suppressive fire is in fact a key mechanic here. Firing enough hits at the general direction of the enemy will keep their head down, and the same goes for the player character and their squad if available. This makes them unable to react to their surrounding, which means it's the best time to get moving as the enemy can't clearly see what you are doing. Freak them out enough, even the most seasoned soldiers will completely lose their cool. Yes, there's panic mechanic in this book. It's time to play Flying Circus like it's goddamn XCOM. And with the additions of actual ground vehicles and tanks in this supplement, of course there's new moves and rules for them too, with plenty of them telling you just how god-awful early tank engines are. There's even a car chase move, whether for racing, trying to chase someone down, or to avoid the local authority. This gets extra funny because, remember, this is Himmilgard, where most people go anywhere by aircraft, and have no fucking clue what is a car. Telling a pilot that you can break in a car and they will probably look at you like you are trying to sell them a horse. Remember that when running any chase scene. Also remember, a car might be fast, but a car in a forest can easily be outrun by a tank. There's a lot of specific rules for tanks too, like how tanks are blind as shit and cannot see anything too close. You can go hull down or take cover to protect some of your vulnerable spot, and, something a lot of FPS could not simulate, getting up close to a tank is fucking terrifying. It's called tank terror, and anyone on foot has to roll keep your cool when getting too damn close to a tank. This also applies if someone in a tank spots a tank with stronger armor, or has front armor that cannot be penetrated by their gun. Better hope you pass the panic check. The part about penetrating armor is also quite important, as there's a full-on armored vehicle damage system, just to determine whether your shell could even get through tank armor or not, and I really want to talk about this part because it's brilliant. All ground vehicle has a stat called integrity. It's not quite health, because you don't reduce it when getting damaged. What damage actually do is applied onto this table, whether that's shaken up the crew or breaking something important, and yes, because Himmilgard is fantasy German, you can break the transmission. This is brilliant, because while tanks are very tough to get knocked out, that doesn't apply to a lot of things attached to it, including the crew. Spall liner hasn't been invented yet. It's why tank crew wear this spooky fucking mask. It also makes the players be wary of taking hits without the risk of instantaneously killing them in one go, like what would happen for real when a tank gets penetrated. So how do you actually knock out a tank? Set it on fire, of course. Doing 1 times integrity of damage, set it on fire. At this point the crew could put it out or just bail, though if you do big enough damage in one shot, especially if you cause a fuel leak and using something like a heat ray cannon, you can explode the tank in one turn. Oh yeah, burnout is also a thing that can be applied to you too, both in fictional tanks and real life. You can just immediately get out safely or try to fight the fire, but if you fail, let's just say it's not good. Of course, just having tanks rolling to shoot each other is a bit boring, which is where tank battle comes in. Tank battle is like dogfight for tanks. Because as it turns out, playing a game where tanks move at historical speed of single digit in kilometers per hour, half of which will break down before even meeting enemies, and then spending hours trying to shell each other to death because they can't see shit only to win because your opponents pass out from carbon monoxide poisoning is not fun. Things are gonna be a lot faster in Chariot of Steel, players are encouraged to maneuver around their usually numerically superior foes, and tank battle is designed exactly for that. You essentially pick as many or little goals as listed here, hope you roll well with your best attribute, and do exactly that, like say, you want to get closer, shoot first, but also get to their side first before shooting, and then escaping before they do. If you roll well, you get to do all of it, but if you roll partial success, only the goal associated with the attribute you rolled with get achieved. For example, if you roll keen, the scene basically plays out as you seeing an opportunity but then has to get out before you get shot, but if you roll calm, you choose to weather the fire to get close and get a good shot. Even if you roll badly, you can still achieve bits of what you want to do with your roll. You know exactly what partial success means. I really didn't say this enough, Erika is a genius. There's also close air support rule, and yes, all those heavily armed ground attacker plane with autocannon and bombs and rockets that could only sadly use their firepower against an airplane before, you can now use them against tanks. Just remember that trying to eyeball friend or foe from the sky without modern IFF system is hard. You also do not want to strap the same grid square twice, unless you want to lawn dart yourself. Also, take note, not every weapon is good for strafing. Anyway, enough about rules, time to talk about the actual new stuff. Currently, there's 20 tanks coming in the Chariot of Steel expansion, and this includes but not limited to, metal box but British, the reason why plane do not approach ground, submersible tank that you can drown in. You might not like this but this is the future, goddamn K-fucking wagon, not Sherman, mech warrior party ride, the little tank that could, and of course, man shaft waggle. I'm a fucking adult. A lot of these tanks have an insane amount of guns, especially machine guns, and honestly, if you are trying to fill every position, you are probably going to run out of money fast, and much like the aircraft stat table, each tank and vehicle has one, along with possible unique upgrades to apply. You can probably recognize what most of these stat does already, but there's two you probably don't. Safety nullifies an amount of hits from suppression. This is important because while your crew is mostly safe in the tank, you the commander still want to poke your head out to actually see things, which would be hard if you are too scared, as tanks are blind as a bat when everyone is inside. The last thing you want is for someone to sneak behind your tank with a tank breaker. Torque meanwhile is how good a vehicle is at going over terrain. Besides dealing with obstacle, torque is also important for going through the wild as quickly as possible, though that also get limited by how slow your vehicles are, and if you think you can overcome the wild with sheer firepower, that's the last thought of many ambitious commanders. You can also put vehicle upgrades on your tanks, as many as you can afford. I really adore all these cute drawings of the upgrades, some are very funny. As if that's somehow not enough, there's a full-on custom vehicle builder, which does not let you build armored vehicle as well made as the pre-made tanks, but you can make just about any vehicles that can fit in any niches, like bike, car, truck, airplane launcher, this weird fucking thing and more. You probably gonna get real confused on looking at the construction rule, which is why there's an online car builder that's still in the testing. It's insane. Of course, with such intuitive vehicle building system, naturally the first thing people do with it is hammer a car into the shape of a man. Let's just say the technology still needs a few decades, or centuries. You know what else exists right now? Guns, more guns than you could ever wield in your hand, from hand cannon of various sizes, illegal shotgun of various sizes, rifle with varied level of safety and firepower, the truly special and stupid weapons, multi-crew guns for any range and target, rocket launcher, and of course, explosives, whether from mines, 12 new kind of grenades, 8 of which are anti-tank to a degree, and a very, very, wide variety of big fucking guns. Also included is new burst damage mechanic for explosives and explosive rounds, which has different effects if the target is in the open or in the trench. There's also new infantry equipment, more in the newly updated Horror of the Height supplement, and weapon mods to further enhance your weapon, pneumatic for silenced firing, heat ray to shoot up vehicles, and rocket to waste your money. With all these new things, your pilot will have a lot of new options to deal with things on ground in their own way, and if you want to play as a rolling circus, you definitely won't be lacking in choices either, so let's talk about that. Chariot of Steel lets you start your character as a landsknecht, just a fancier word for mercenary, complete with ground masteries and everything, but you play completely differently than a pilot. Planes are enablers of freedom and independence, and can do more than just shooting. Tanks are cumbersome battering ram that are very limited by the terrain, and it is very, very, good at killing people. At the very least, you're gonna be earning a lot of money as a landsknecht. Here's your budget and type of crew for your tank or squad. Irregular could be better, trained is the standard, veteran knows how to survive, fanatic is too stupid to be afraid, and shock can keep their cool well. You can have up to 9+ yourself for a 10-person crew, except for survivors, but you do get 50 thaler worth of budget from looting dead city like a kleptomaniac. When playing as a landsknecht, you also must ask yourself, whether you want to play as a tank commander or squad leader, and each playbook will give you bonuses in a different way. Choosing to be a tank commander of one tank, no tank et squadron here, gives you free vehicle upgrades and gears. Choosing to be a squad leader has multiple layers. First, you can buy armor and parachute in bulk. I recommend helmet at minimum, they works well in cover, and can also operate small vehicles or even ride animals for transportation and mounted combat. Second, you get a far more interesting special playbook rules. Armor is very good at shooting, soldier get free shovels and bayonets, fisher has goddamn chaplain with magic power, survivor, is survivor, skyborn gets to deploy wingsuit squad, believer has free grenade satchels for near infinite molotov, scion gets to own a militarized clockwork, worker get a free medic promotion and helmets, students get discount on many advanced technologies, and witches can take 2 apprentices for better magic power. There's so many ways to build your squad, like fully armored survivor raid squad, skyborn wingsuited paratrooper, farmer mounted cavalry squad, soldier artillery support squad, worker emplaced gun section squad, student laser infantry squad, or just plain throw all that out and have witch casting powerful magic like there's no tomorrow. Of course, with the focus being now on the ground, some aspects of the playbook got changed to fit the new circumstances. The funniest one has to be workers' domestic bliss because it remains unchanged and is absolutely stupid. Witches as the crow flies can also make tank fly, and while using a tank as a focus for iron magic is a very bad idea, I also recommend it because it would be fucking hilarious. If you are playing in a 2-person group with one of you as the GM, you can perfectly play as a very small company of 1 tank or a squad, much like in freelancer mode in Flying Circus core rulebook, but if you want to be bigger than that, there's rule for that in officer mode, giving you command over a large company and playing a narrative war game with them. Also, just like in base Flying Circus, you need to name every NPC crew you have recruited or hired as well as giving them a small description so it hurts more when they get hurt or die. The ground masteries for the landsknecht are pretty cool too, 6 of them in fact, 2 for tanks, 2 for infantry, and 2 for different kind of firepower. Linebreaker is for heavy tank, facing forward with heavy armor and crushing anything in their way. Getaway is for any speedy vehicle, become goddamn ungovernable, you even earn victory from wrecking any vehicle, including your own. Tank destroyer is for the big gun, getting a good shot and then get the hell out as soon as someone spots you. Fire section is just bullets, bullets everywhere, quantity will have quality of its own eventually. Skirmisher is for infantry with sensible mind, just avoid enemy contact and the moment something went loud is when things go to plan. And finally, shock trooper, for those that wants to charge straight into hell, my favorite mastery because it's fucking insane. Your squad is simply better at staying cool and charging into close quarter combat with your foes. There's a move that lets you and specifically you to carry a gun big enough for 2 people. You also apply tank terror on your fucking own when you get all the shock trooper move. This includes against goddamn tanks, which can be very useful on the next section, how to make money. Here's the thing about being landsknecht, the money you earn from completing a mission is barely enough to put you in the black. It's not just upkeep from maintaining your vehicle, you aren't flying in the sky as just a pilot, you have a whole crew and or squad to feed, and that can be a whole lot of money spent just to pay everyone, not including the support staff. Instead, you could get a little or a lot more money via a little enterprising. I'm talking about spoils of war. Forget a detailed list of captured firearms, ammo, supplies, and stuff, you just roll and see how much fancy stuff you can officially salvage before your soldiers secretly pocket them after a battle. You are also not a used gun salesman, so if you looted something rather big, use it or leave it. But if you can salvage vehicle, now that's a potential big payoff. A fully burned out wreck can be sold for a quarter of its price, an intact capture vehicle is sold for half instead. Both are a whole lot of money, if you can successfully tow it to a town that can buy them, or alternatively, you can commander them for the company. There's also a third method, taking prisoners. An enlisted or NCO gives you 1 thaler, an ace, officer, or leaders give you a whooping 3, and support personnel for half. These can be ransom money, or bounty, or just grateful gifts for the return of press-ganged citizens. This is another big source of money, and I really like this one because it encourages the player to suppress enemy squad and then get in close to make them surrender or capture them, which is very risky as close quarter combat is harsh, but it can pay off heavily. And also reflect that more often than not, a small skirmish doesn't end with one side being dead. People wants to live and either run away or surrender long before that happens, as long as they know whoever they are fighting isn't a fucking war criminal. Which is why it's important for you to take good care of your prisoner before sending them to a town. Abusing or killing them is not going to reflect your company well. In fact, one good way for the GM to put the trouble on the player is to burden them with prisoners in the middle of the battle, or have the prisoners outnumbering or be in equal numbers to the players, especially for single down pilot. Anyway, this video is fucking long enough. Luckily, we only got one topic left, enemy. Much like how you build your squad as a squad leader, enemy infantry squads get built up in these blocks and you can modify them as you desire, making your players fight against bandits, pirates, revolutionaries, warlords, 4 different flavors of goth, SOP with expeditionary force, various mercenary companies, and even shades. For new non-human threats, there's the Fae with more annoying magical beasts, as well as goddamn autonomous tanks, but what got the most upgrades is most definitely the clockwork, which can be tough as nail, be very powerful on their own, and can even combine with each other to form vehicles like fucking Destruct Decon. Worst of all is the fucking foreman. If a clockwork starts glowing, shoot it or run. The new clockwork designs really look menacing as hell. Then there's Dragon. And that's basically it on Chariot of Steel, a Flying Circus supplement that turns Flying Circus into a narrative war game. It's done. From watching its inception to its release, I can finally review this book and I love it so goddamn much. The tank designs, the artworks, how Erika once again weaves the extensive operational details of vehicles and ground warfare into a narrative system, the social commentary, and the many references for readers to make their own designs into their stories. 2 of my most favorite tank movies are Girls Wound Panzer der Film and Kelly's Hero, so it's great to have a tank combat TTRPG that lets me emulate those 2 films almost perfectly, and with this video done, I can relax for a bit knowing that there isn't another mechanically extensive vehicular combat TTRPG around the corner for me to make a ridiculously long video on. Anyway, you can get it now on itch.io and Drive-Thru RPG. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe and click that notification bell button. If you want to see the videos early as well as further support my channel, you can join in my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.